Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Joe Palmer begins now.
Good evening, everyone. We'll have those stories for you shortly, but first to some breaking news. And firefighters are battling to save an historic church in East Devonport. It's understood the fire began in the roof space of St Paul's Anglican Church at around 4 o'clock this afternoon. Crews from Devonport, Ulverston and Latrobe rushed to the weatherboard structure and used a crane to fight the fire from above. The church was built in the 1870s and restored in 2001 after being substantially damaged in another blaze. Investigations will take place tonight. A much talked about pledge to build a new Bridgewater Bridge has faced a major setback, dropping down a national list of priority projects. The government says it remains committed to the replacement amid concerns over the bridge's safety.
This is one of the state's busiest freight, commuter and tourism routes. The Bridgewater Bridge in desperate need of an upgrade.
There are problems with the ageing of the bridge and its ability to lift up and down over time, so it really does need to be upgraded regardless, just for safety levels for the future.
The state and federal governments committing to build a $576 million replacement.
Together we are going to build the Bridgewater Bridge. I'm excited about it. I expect cars to be driving across the new Bridgewater Bridge in 2024. Planning and design is happening now.
If it doesn't get built, we're talking about safety issues and long-term effects on both motorists but also on our ability to move freight freely around the state.
But the government's plan has hit a major hurdle, bumped down a national list of priorities by Infrastructure Australia. The independent umpire saying the cost would outweigh the benefit. Concerned over unresolved engineering, design and maintenance issues.
It's a hammer blow to this project. Now, this project should have been delivered by now. We should have workers on site right now building this new bridge.
We want to make sure it is fit for purpose, that it does mean people can get to work and to do their business safely and efficiently. That's what this means. It means it will be built and we'll have the right product at the end of the day.
But it's not all bad news. The $300 million University of Tasmania campus relocation in Launceston and Burnie has won priority status. Infrastructure Australia saying enrolments are falling as the campuses reach their end of life and the relocations will help attract more students. Michelle Wisby, 7 Tasmania News.
The Hobart City Council has knocked back a controversial proposal for a new 13-storey development in the CBD. The plan for the Welcome Stranger site was rejected last night following advice from council planners which said it did not meet the heritage component of the planning scheme. But it's left the company behind the application bitterly disappointed and unsure of what to do next.
We feel that it is a missed opportunity for Hobart and the greater community, and we certainly felt that the development proposal that was put forward was something that would have great benefit to the community.
It was not suitable, considering the really important 2- and 3-storey streetscape along Davey Street in particular, but also those other heritage areas.
The council voting down the plan, 7 votes to 4. A Launceston scammer could be facing home detention as an alternative to a prison sentence. Kane Scott Dallow pleaded guilty in February to selling fake advertising, ripping off thousands of dollars from a couple.
Head down and leaving court, but this time flying solo. His personal cameraman nowhere in sight, in a stark contrast to his last appearance.
Be very cautious in what you're doing and what you're reporting on.
Today, keeping tight-lipped.
How are you feeling, Mr. Dallow?
Not talking.
Kane Scott Dallow facing the Launceston Magistrates Court without legal representation. His case adjourned once again. The 38-year-old pleaded guilty in February to one count of dishonestly acquiring a financial advantage. The court previously heard he befriended a couple last year after posing as a television employee and convinced the woman to pay him $5,000 to fund his TV show. Magistrate Sharon Cure now considering the option of a home detention sentence, despite the prosecution calling for Mr Dillos' incarceration, with a 6-week assessment period in place.
Don't touch the car.
The prosecution also obtaining the facts of prior convictions in Victoria. Magistrate Cure says she'll deliver a verdict in 6 weeks, with Mr Dillos set to learn his fate on August 28. Ruby Kemain, 7 Tasmania News.
An advocate for Aboriginal Tasmanians has labelled a series of pavers highlighting pivotal moments in Launceston's history as biased racism. Michael Mansell says the timeline in Civic Square is a sanitised account of the state's past and goes against this year's NAIDOC theme of voice, treaty and truth.
We need to get a balanced perspective of the story by saying this is historical fact, so is that. And just replace some of the stones and add some of the pavers with the truth of history.
In a statement, Acting Mayor Danny Gibson says there's still a way to go in terms of hearing and understanding past transgressions against Indigenous peoples. Tasmanians will get an up-close look at some of Australian basketball's biggest names this September, with the state government spending $300,000 to host the NBL's pre-season tournament. The government says it's money well spent, while critics question the government's priorities in the midst of a health crisis.
The 4-day NBL Blitz will see all 9 teams playing practice games and running clinics across Tasmania, and comes as league owner Larry Kestelman eyes off stadium deals and a potential 10th franchise for the state. But the annual event comes at a price.
$300,000 is an important investment to encourage sport participation, focus Tasmania, national focus on Tasmania over those 4 days.
It's actually a breath of fresh air to work with government that is so passionate and eager to bring basketball to Tasmania.
Larry Kestelman says potential NBA draftees will also make the trip south as part of the league's Next Stars program. And it's also a chance to test the market, urging locals to register their support on the NBL Tas website.
It is about the fans and the kids, the ones that are here and inspiring them, and it's all part of our mission to see if we can bring an actual NBL club to Tasmania.
And it's already got support from one of the sport's biggest names.
You're playing in the north, you're playing in the south, you unite the state. It's an unbelievable potential that you've got down here.
But the $300,000 price tag has left Labor scratching their heads as the government gears up to find $450 million in budget savings.
We've got ambulances coming down from Mowbray to look after Bridgewater. We've got a housing crisis. We've got a traffic congestion crisis. One is, I think, quite rightfully open to ask the commitment of the state government about what their priorities are.
The fact is we've struck a good deal for Tasmania.
The NBL Blitz kicks off on September 19. Andrew McCarthy, 7 Tasmania News.
Heavy vehicle convoys are about to begin between Burnie and the West Coast as construction ramps up on the Granville Harbour wind farm, with large components making their way through windy roads in an area where threatened animals live. They're undertaking special wildlife training.
Wildlife rescuer Greg Irons is demonstrating the simple but effective gear needed to care for animals. Injured and orphaned wildlife, common victims on our roads.
She will be released back to the wild when she's big and fat and ugly, so a little way to go yet.
He's helping to train up workers on a new wind farm on the west coast, an area home to special species like the Tasmanian devil and spotted-tailed quolls.
It's all about time when we're saving animals. Time's the enemy, and the longer that an animal waits, the more chance it disappears, the more chance it dies.
Large convoys carrying the wind farm components are set to weave through winding roads from Burnie to Granville Harbour. Palisade, the company behind the project, says it's taking extra precautions to prevent roadkill.
There's some practical measures that we have in place with reduced speed limits and just driving in between in daylight hours and avoiding travel at night time and high risk times of the day.
Tasmanian wind farm developments have sparked concern from animal advocates, worried about the impact of turbines and power line infrastructure on wedge-tailed eagles and other birds.
Yeah, we've got one here at the moment actually, so we suspect has hit power lines. And look, again, we've done training with Tas Networks. We've been around and done training with all their staff for their zero harm days. And look, it is really hard. You can't just click your fingers and put all the power lines underground.
The wind farms have to go through a development and planning approval process. They have to get approval through the planning process, the environmental approvals, and it's rigorous, it's comprehensive.
Daily checks for bird strikes will be carried out on this project for the first 12 months of operation. Michael Breen, 7 Tasmania News.
The 10 Lives Cat Centre has launched a new fundraising appeal to upgrade its busy hospital wing. The Newtown shelter houses cats undergoing medical treatment, but has been working with inadequate heating and roller shutters instead of windows. 10 Lives is now aiming to raise $15,000 to get the facility up to scratch before the end of winter.
So freezing right now every day. When the sun goes down, the hospital wing temperature drops dramatically, and with the fluctuating temperatures from night to day, it's becoming quite stressful for the cats and kittens that are here.
Donations can be made through the 10 Lives Cat Centre Facebook page.
Hockey Tasmania is urging fans to vote with their feet when the Tassie Tigers men's and women's teams make their debut at the inaugural Hockey One League. The Tigers' first home match is against the Adelaide Fire on October 5.
I want to see at least 4,000 to 5,000 people here at the Hockey Centre. I think we've got the best athletes in Australia coming right here. Some of the best athletes play for Tasmania.
Meanwhile, Derwent's Hugh Flassman is celebrating a successful weekend after scoring a hat-trick in the 4-1 win against University.
Doesn't happen very often, but I'll take them when they come. I think I was just on the end of a fair bit of good play by the other boys, so hopefully that can keep happening up until finals.
Derwent's next match is against Canterbury on Friday.
Good evening. A few showers over the west and northwest today with partly cloudy conditions elsewhere. The population centres all on 14 degrees, which was one short of the top recorded by King Island, St Helens and Friendly Beaches. Flinders Island and Ooze 14, Low Head, Strawn and Grove 13 today, Lyell Weenie 7 degrees. Best rainfall today was 21 millimetres at Mount Reid as that low convective cloud moved over the state from the west. Not much coverage over the east today. A low pressure system and cold front south of the Bight brought a shower to southern WA. Patchy cloud over central Queensland is due to an upper level trough. Tomorrow, a strong cold front should cross the state in the evening, also extending to Victoria and South Australia. A high continues to be the major factor on the rest of the mainland's weather. The wind shifting north-northwesterly and increasing to 30 to 40 knots from the west in the afternoon and evening tomorrow. Northwesterlies inland at 20 to 30 knots. So we have a severe weather warning for damaging winds. That's been issued for northern, eastern and central Tasmania for tomorrow evening. A gale warning for all coastal waters apart from the strong wind warning for Banks Strait, Franklin Sound and Storm Bay. A small craft wind alert for the inland lakes. Also, a sheep graziers warning has been issued for northern and eastern districts but not the Furneaux Islands. Hobart, tomorrow, 15, a shower or two developing. Rain developing for Geeveston, 14 and 13 for Bothwell. Launceston, a high of 13 degrees, rain becoming very windy late afternoon, 13 for Devonport, same sort of forecast, and for Cressy as well with 12 there. 13 for Burnie with rain and wind, 13 for Strawn, possible heavy falls, very windy for Curry on King Island and 14 degrees. 14 also the top for St Helens with rain developing, becoming windy as well. Swansea the same, 15 the maximum, and Orford 14 degrees. Most of that rain in the east late in the day. On Thursday, showers, although little over the east, thunderstorms possible in the west. Showers on Friday with thunder over the west and far south, snow to 600 metres over the southwest, and on Saturday showers over the west and south contracting to the far south by evening, morning snow lowering to 500 metres. Partly cloudy in Perth tomorrow, a windy day forecast and showers too for Adelaide and Melbourne, a cold start for Canberra, a sunny 18 in Sydney and a fine day in Brisbane. A bit of cloud around the state and currently 12 degrees in Hobart, 11 in Launceston and 11 in Devonport. And tonight's energy saving tip from the staff at Aurora Energy. Yes, they've spent all day in meetings and have just sent me their results. Now a good tip is to follow the recommended temperature for your hot water system and turn your hot water system off if you're going away for more than a week. It's a great idea, Joe. Not good for those house sitting though.
No, not a good idea if you have someone house sitting. Thank you very much, Merv. That's all from the team for now. Have a lovely evening and we'll see you a little later. Bye-bye.